Good morning, everyone. It is Sunday, June 26th. Oh, look, I'm still getting. As of even on Sunday, they send me work, as you guys could see. Anyways, I had a great Saturday. Hope you guys all had a great Saturday and good work week. As you guys know, I was really busy all week long. Yesterday, I had a great Sabbath. Yes, Saturday is the Sabbath, guys. In Spanish, the word sábado is Saturday, okay? And let's not forget Spanish came from Latin. All right. I've been like waking a lot of you guys up. If you're new to my channel, you're in for a treat today. But everyone else, everyone else has been following along, has been seeing science in a different perspective. Because a lot of you guys think that science has something to do with like pseudoscience sky worshipping, and which in fact that is right. It is basically just a bunch of sky worshipping, and I'm gonna prove all that right now using, of course, mainstream science. So so yesterday I had a great time, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because as I took my day off yesterday, and I decided I'm just gonna spend I kind of neglected social media all week long during the work week. So I'm like, Saturday I'm just gonna troll the shit out of globeheads. But the globeheads, they don't want to debate me no more, and everyone's running from me, blocking me, and and trying to escape the truth. You can't escape the truth, guys, though. Because the truth is all around you, and sooner or later the truth hits you. And the truth is not kind. The truth is not your friend. It never has been. You guys are like, I'm a truth seeker, and then when the truth slaps the shit out of you, then you're all mad about it. You're expecting for truth to come. You're gonna go walking down the street, and you're gonna walk up, and you're gonna like, are you truth? And truth is gonna be like, yes, I've been here waiting for you. Here, let me give you this rainbow, and here, let me give you this card, this little gift card with a heart on it, and let me give you this award for finding. Hell nah. It is not like that. Truth and science are nothing like that. Truth and science you're asleep, and it kicks your door in at 3 a.m, runs through your house and pistol whips you, and then takes everything you got and leaves you with nothing but emptiness to start over with. That's what truth and science are. They're not kind. Stop expecting to try to seek truth, and then when you find it, you expect it to be kind to you. It's not like that. Truth is meant to destroy your own fallacies. All right, and we're gonna get through this together, and we're gonna see and I've been going heavy on the geography. But as the globeheads didn't want to challenge me in any way or form, I decided to start trolling some atheists. And boy, did I come across some really stupid fake atheists. Most atheists nowadays are not atheists. All right, first of all, atheism is a belief. Okay, atheism is a belief. It's based on doctrine, and it's based on a disbelief. You believe to disbelieve without any proof. As I trolled all those atheist groups yesterday, and they all started blocking me, and you guys all seen proof of that. Okay, atheism is not science. I proved it yesterday easily. In a few hours, I had destroyed three double-digit K groups where they couldn't do nothing but block me. They had to block me. All right, all I asked them for. Go outside and do science. Not one of them atheists wanted to do science. You know why? Because they have faith in their belief. They have a belief to not believe. Okay? That is a fallacy. That is incredulous. That is more oxymoronic all the way around. That is dumb. So as I trolled the atheists and tried explaining to them, no, most of you wannabe atheists are actually Catholics. You're misinformed or disinformed Catholics, and you're attacking the Catholic Church because the Catholic Church put you there to attack them. See, that's how a hero works. All right? A hero needs a villain. And all you dark energy worshipers, you're like, no, that's not the same type of dark energy. Yes, it is. And by the time I'm done today, by the time I'm done with this show, the showing that I'm doing on this episode, I'm gonna, first of all, if you've been following my channel, you're gonna be like, wow, now this all makes sense. But if you're new to my channel, this is gonna slap the living shit out of you. All right? So have a seat, drink some water, try to be calm, use an open mind, because what I'm gonna show you is mainstream media, science. All right? So we're gonna start simply because of, like I said, when it comes to researching something, always start in the origins. Do not start at the latest information that's available. Try to go like, where did this even come from? The history. So as we see right here, there's a Google search. Everyone can do this. Is history part of science? Okay? Right off the top, history is both science and art. It is scientific in its methods and technique, but literary, and artistic in its presentation. The unity of knowledge, history as science and art. History as part of science. That's coming from the American Association of Advancement. Okay? It's throughout mainstream media, science. As we can see, mainstream science is saying history is not only science, it is an art. So, having established that, we're going to move forward. You guys can see all these posts that are coming up. Okay? You can easily look this up. And here's a .gov for you status believers that, the state is going to save you from something. Okay? Because the state is nothing more than another deity. You've never met the state. You don't kick it with the state. Okay? You don't go down the street and talk to the state. The state is just like, that's like saying you go down the street and talk to God. It's not the same thing. It's indifferently the same thing. Do you understand that? Okay? You can't go and shake the state's hand and say, hi, how's it going? Just like you can't go and shake the hand of God. So therefore, when you say, oh, the state said so, oh, the state's made it a law, that's the same thing as saying a God made something a law. It's the same concept. All right? So to all you statists, here it is. The role of history in science. And everyone knows that science is something that has always been manipulated. And this is going to piss most of you all off as we move on to the next square, next window. Historical records include the Bible. Ooh, ouch, did that hurt? Ooh, you just got slapped, yo, you just got scienced. So, when studying the books of the Bible, scholars examine the historical context of passages. Okay, that's on Wikipedia. I'm not going to use Wikipedia though. Okay, we're going to move forward. Okay, let's see what other people have asked. Is the Bible considered historical? The historical books of the Old Testament are as accurate historical documents as any that we have from antiquity, and are in fact more accurate than many of the Egyptian, Mesopotamian, or Greek histories. Oh, another one. You atheists are getting slapped, yo. Okay, so is the Bible considered a historical text? That's from Christianity.com. I will move beyond that because you guys will be, that's not a credible source. Okay, here is study.com. The Bible as a historical document. The Hebrew Bible itself is an anthology that covers the history of the earliest Israelite people through their establishment of a monarchy. So I could keep going on. And let it be known how history is written, okay? Scholars hear about, they come across something and then they cross-reference it. So here's what they do. They grab the Bible. Then they grab Greek records. Then they grab, if possible, any other ancient, ancient Hebrew records, ancient Greek, ancient Roman record, and then they compare them. But the Bible has always been included as one of the relative comparisons in order to establish something as a historical fact. Ouch! 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 That must hurt you. That must hurt you. Wow, I know a lot of you glowheads and a lot of you statists are really pissed off right now. And this is not coming from me, as we see. This is on mainstream science. Is the Bible historically accurate? They are accurate again. Historical as that we have from, again they say it. Okay, the Bible, historical and archaeological evidence. Now, believe it or not, do you guys know where archaeology came from? Oh yeah, it came from the Bible. Okay, so this hit right on the mark because that's where we're gonna move forward. As I easily established right now, okay, I easily established that history is science. Okay, then I just established that the Bible is used as historical reference to establish agreed upon historical facts, mainstream facts. Okay. Now we're moving on to archaeology, right? So the Bible presents itself as history. Its historical validity should be judged in the same manner as that of any other ancient document. Okay. Now archaeology was not the only subset of within the field of applied sciences. Actually, everything is. Hold on, let me drink some more coffee. Hold on. This is too hilarious. I know you're. I'm gonna let you. Look, I'm gonna scroll down real slowly. Feel free to to look as I take a sip. Take this in real slowly. All right. Okay. See it? Okay. So. This coffee is so good. This victory sip of coffee is so good. Some strong coffee, yo. Wow, okay, so now that you've taken that in and you have to accept science, you have to accept facts, you have to accept the truth, and the truth has slapped the shit out of most of you just right now. I'm not done with you. Have a seat. We're just getting started. Okay, so you're like, okay, then science, and I've already explained this before. I'm gonna emphasize and reiterate, and actually specify, post the specifications in the history of the word science. What is a scientist? Now, okay, before scientists and the word science, before those two words, all right. The Catholic Church had control of over all indoctrination. Any challenge to their indoctrinate or to their doctrine was literally destroyed, and the people speaking it would also meet a terrible ending. I mean, they would be tortured, burned, stoned to death, as we will see in a little bit. Okay, so that's where all of this, the whole body of knowledge or seeking knowledge actually came from people that within the Catholic Church. And we're going to see this right now. And you got to remember that scientists or being a scientist is a form of employment. All right? Back in the days when the Catholic Church was in power during Isaac Newton's time, all right, during Isaac Newton's time, and we'll see, I'm going to include Isaac Newton because you guys know I know so much about that asshole. And so I'm gonna go ahead and read on right here. I'm gonna go and I'll let you guys see what I'm gonna how this is gonna turn out. So the usage of the term natural philosophy preceded the current term science. All right, Isaac Newton was not a scientist. He was a natural philosopher. Okay, before Isaac Newton and the Royal Society, they science was not a form of employment. If you wanted to know anything about how reality works, you had no choice but to accept what the Catholic Church was feeding you. That was it. Unless you were in some indigenous tribe that had not been contacted yet by the Catholic Church, okay, you were under their control. Everything about them has been about brainwashing. It has nothing to do about spirituality. So, the word science was a synonym for knowledge or study, and the term natural philosophy referred to knowledge or study of the workings of nature. Natural philosophy became science, Latin ciencia, knowledge, when the acquisition. Okay, that's coming from the New World Encyclopedia, as we can see. Is natural philosophy a science? What other people ask. What was called natural philosophy is not what is now called science. The latter, with its specific institutions and standards, only started forming in the 17th century and was not fully formed until the mid 19th century. Okay? It's important that you guys know that. We'll move forward. There's other questions you can see. Here we have plato.stanford.edu, natural philosophy in the Renaissance. We'll go there because that's a .edu. Just coming straight from the and yes, okay, all the college, the concept of a college came from the Catholics. The very first 3 colleges that were actually put up by the Catholic Church were actually, in fact, trying to replicate the ancient library of Greece, and beyond that, the ancient library of Phoenicia. And as we're going to see right here, where natural philosophy starts to become a form of employment. Because back then, if you wanted to know something, you would just go out there and try to figure it out. And if you figured out something that was against what the Catholic Church was saying, your best bet was to shut the fuck up and not tell no one. Because if they found out, oh, best bet you'd be burned at the stake, stoned, tortured. I mean, there were some pretty sick ways of them dealing with anyone that challenged their doctrine and their whole belief system. So I'm gonna go ahead and read right here. This is natural philosophy in the Renaissance. It is from first published in 2015. It's not that old. And it was revised in 2019, as we could see right there. So natural philosophy, as distinguished from metaphysics and mathematics, is traditionally understood to encompass a wide range of subjects which Aristotle included in the physical sciences. According to this classification, natural philosophy is the science of those beings which undergo change and are independent of human beings. This vast field of inquiry was described in the Aristotelian treatises such as Physics on the Heavens, on Generation and Corruption, Meteorology, History of Animals, on the parts of animals and the generation on the soul, whose Renaissance reception is not discussed in present entry. The so-called Parva Naturalia, other minor writings, and some Apocrypha, the Problemata, which were taught in the universities in the Middle Ages and in the Renaissance. Again, on a pause there, I just explained that the university, the whole concept of a university came from the Catholics. It was something they established, and to this day still have a good control and power over. And even if it's not in broad light or broad sight, or easily like directly related, is all indirectly coming from old school curriculum. And we're gonna go ahead and keep going, and you will see that by the time I'm done. So during the Renaissance, despite the enduring centrality of the Aristotelian paradigm for the discipline, natural philosophy was enriched and expanded by a number of further approaches. By the end of the 16th century, natural philosophy was no longer purely identified with the Aristotelian system or standard university curriculum. At the time, the proliferation of new contexts and ways of learning did not automatically eliminate older ones, and this fusion contributed to the birth of modern science in a period of religious and political upheaval. Again, on another pause right there, I already explained that the Catholic Church assimilates. Okay, they don't try to completely destroy a whole culture. No, they try to destroy the most parts that they decide which parts are going to be destroyed and which parts will be assimilated. I explained that in Mexico the Guadalupe, Virgen de Guadalupe, is not the Virgin Mary. uh, if anyone looks to her origins, you will see that she is actually a female cadaver goddess. And what the Catholic Church did said, you guys can continue worshiping her, just make her more carnal, add some skin to her. But at the time, the natives believed that the internal part of the human body was beautiful. The skeleton, the cadaver, that is art. I mean, for it, that is not, there has to be a divine connection, according to them, for a cadaver to be able to move the way it does. Because when you see bones in plain sight, you can easily compare them to rocks and stones. So, without this propaganda, and in a primitive state of mind, as we're told that they were in, seeing rocks and stones and comparing them to your bones is like, wow, that's beautiful. How can these rocks and bones, grow flesh around it and walk around? And so, to them, that's how they looked at this thing. That was their view of that. And going a little bit further, as you can see, a standard university curriculum. All right. Now that included, as I explained in one of the last episodes, that included the Ptolemaic cosmological model. Okay, they were still globeheads. They were never ever flat earthers. Ever. They were never flat earthers. They were globeheads, geocentric globeheads. They believed that they were on a globe Earth and everything revolved around the globe Earth, which is apparently what we observe in nature. And here's where we have natural philosophy. Natural philosophy was based on the Ptolemaic cosmological model and how you view observable reality. When I look outside right now, the sun is moving. I am not. I am stationary. I feel no motion whatsoever. I have no reason to believe I am spinning around that sun. Furthermore, that sun is the same size as the moon. Furthermore, the moon light is a bit colder than the moon shade. Totally opposite of sunlight and sunshade. So there is nothing I have no reason to believe anything else other than observable reality using natural philosophy and the original way of practicing science. Okay, that is observable reality. Okay, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna move back a little bit to the. As you can see, that came. Look, here's Britannica, Britannica.com. Science as natural philosophy. Okay. Science, as it has been defined above, made its appearance before writing. It was verbal. And this is important you guys understand that first sentence. Okay? That first sentence includes the Phoenicians. Okay? We don't even know if that was their name. We call them Phoenicians simply because they were tied to phonetics. Once the alphabet was invented, that destroyed pretty much a lot of history at that point, because history at that point was not based on any alphabet or phonetic type of communication. Rather, it was imagery. Okay? You had hieroglyphs, iconoglyphs, and all those other types of different forms of communicating concepts. Logos. I've said it over and over and over. Ethos, pathos, logos. If you want to learn about debating, you need to understand ethos, pathos, logos. Specifically logos, which is why I use memes to memes and GIFs easily destroy anything you're trying to type. Okay? Because my memes and my GIFs will get to your mind way quicker than someone trying to translate it in their mind, and then their mind blocking out any information that feels it's threatening its own core memory bank. I've already explained the data part about this and how the human mind definitely works like a network. It works exactly like a network. Okay? So moving forward, yeah, it's important you guys know that that whole ancient story of the Tower of Babylon, that's what it was. They were babbling stupid shit. They couldn't get their shit straight, and the tower fell. All right. So science as it has been defined above, made its appearance before writing. It is necessary, therefore, to infer from archaeological remains what was the content of that science. From cave paintings and from apparently regular scratches on bone and reindeer horn, it is known that prehistoric humans were close observers of nature, who carefully tracked the seasons and times of the year. About 2500 BCE, there was a sudden burst of activity that seems to have had clear scientific importance. So as you can see how far it goes back. Okay, you guys can go ahead and read on your own. I'm not gonna go completely into that. All right, you guys can read this on your own. Okay, on this little branch of tree of knowledge that I'm giving you. All right, science came from natural philosophy. Okay, natural philosophy came from observable reality. All right. So, moving forward, let's recap. So we've established the Bible is a historical document. We established history is science. We established science came from natural philosophy. Yeah, this is not going to end well for you atheists and or wannabe atheists and don't even know any of this. Especially if you're like a hardcore globehead statist that believes the United Nations is here to save you like some god. Because they're not. I mean, just look around you. Okay, so we've seen that one already. So, since we're using, all of those facts together, we're going to move on to the history of Phoenicia. Or, let me see. Oh, yeah, before that. Yeah, way before that. Let's back up here. So you guys have already understood, that history is science. The Bible is therefore science. Whether you like it or not. And I've already established that science came from natural philosophy and observable reality. Okay, so moving into observable reality, we're going to move on to astronomy and astrology. And you're going to be like, astrology is not astronomy. And I'm like, uh-oh. All right, I suggest you sit down and try to calm down. As of now, you already know science came from natural philosophy. Okay? Here's the part where I tell you astronomy came from astrology. Okay, so Astrology summary. In ancient times, it was inseparable from astronomy. It originated in Mesopotamia, 3rd millennium BC, and spread to India, but has developed its Western form in Greek civilization during the Hellenistic period. Okay. In our textbooks, here, like what someone else, what other people have, did astrology or astronomy come first? In our textbooks, only the part of ancient astronomy is reproduced, which coincides with the beginnings of our modern science. This is right there, modem. But in reality, the ancient science of the stars was, in the first place, astrology, the doctrine of the influence of the heavenly bodies upon earth and mankind. Okay? Let's go over that, okay? All right. So right away, we already know by going over this in the first two. We'll move on to a couple more. Here's the Encyclopedia: Astrology and Astronomy in the Ancient World. The most primitive origins of both astrology and astronomy predate the human written record. Using encyclopedia.com. And you're gonna see how this starts. How this all starts. This all starts making sense now. So astrology and astronomy in the ancient world. The first records of the systematic astronomical or astrological observation and interpretation lie in the scattered remains of ancient Egyptian and Babylonian civilizations. The earliest evidence of the development of astronomy and astrology in the modern world, distinctive representatives of science and pseudoscience, respectively, establish that they share a common origin grounded in mankind's need and quest to understand the movements of the celestial sphere. Okay? Now, the celestial sphere is the sky and the stars, or as is defined in not only the biblical dictionary, but also the English dictionary, the firmament. That is the firmament, the celestial sphere, aka the firmament. Okay, now the firmament, all right, and the celestial sphere, aka the celestial sphere, are actually Baal, exactly like I explained in the heliocentric model episode that I posted probably a couple episodes back, a couple showings back. So moving forward, using that and seeing here right here, so I could easily, and we could even, you could look that up. It's already, you could scroll down on the videos and look it up. Helios was not just the shining sun. Okay, Helios, aka Baal, aka Apollo, aka Zeus, they're sky gods. Okay, the sun was central to it, but it included everything, the whole sky. That's the god that they literally worshipped, the entire sky. The entire sky and Helios was one god. That's where the whole term of the eye comes from. Like, like the all-knowing eye. Because the sky looks like an all-knowing eye when you look at the sun. That's where all that came from. All of that comes from this Babylonian religion. Okay, and it's also known as the Canaanites. These are Canaanites, and they're also known as, there's many names for these. For, like I said, this is before the alphabet was actually invented. All right, this is when in time phonetic communication was not the primary form of communicating. Rather, it was artistic in a way to communicate with each other with pictures and images, drawings. That was the best way to communicate with each other. Okay, so moving forward, moreover, evidence suggests an early and strong desire to relate earthly everyday existence to the stars and to develop a cosmology, an understanding of the origin, structure, and evolution of the universe that intimately bound human society to a coherent and knowable universe. So we could keep going on and on. And believe it or not, the Tower of Babylon was actually an observatory. You guys can look that up, and you can feel free to Google it. All right, the Tower of Babylon was an observatory. Well, I love carrots. Okay, so we see that uh, we see what it was back then. Astrology and astronomy were basically the same thing back then. Now, let's go ahead and define that. Define each word. Always important, continually define the words. Astronomy definition directly from a dictionary. The branch of science which deals with celestial objects, space, and the physical universe as a whole. Okay, that's fair enough. Astrology definition. The study of the movements and relative positions of celestial bodies interpreted as having an influence on human affairs and the natural world. Okay, so nowadays we separate, um, the sky worshiping crap into astronomy and astrology. The difference being the influence upon what the sky has on Earth. You're like, wait a minute. Because if you understand astronomy and astrology, then now you're starting to see how it's never actually been separated to begin with. Because astronomy is not actually uh, defined as one type of practice. There's two different types of astronomy. Astronomy, oh, observable versus theoretical astronomy. Okay, so for all of you that believe that you are following astronomy, just like a lot of you atheists, want to be atheists, found out yesterday you are actually Catholics, as I keep proving right here. Okay, so everyone that's doing astronomy right now, I need you to understand there's two separate types of astronomy, and it's gonna be defined right here. Observational astronomers or observers specialize in observing electromagnetic radiation at various different wavelength regimes, usually large telescopes. Theoretical astronomers or theorists attempt to explain observations with physical laws or make predictions that can be tested observationally. All right? Observational astronomy deals with the study of electromagnetic radiation. And here's where we're so here's what we have. You have, as you could clearly see, one of these practices that, you look up, you just observe, and you just monitor, observe, and record. That's it. You don't try to predict anything. You just record it. Now that is really boring. Go ahead, go outside and start looking at the sky and look at the lights. Do it for 1 week. I dare any of you wannabe, people that think that I do science. Go ahead, go outside and look at the stars and look at the sky and look at the lights and observe everything for 1 week. Then come back and show me one of your cartoons that you've seen when you were in preschool or in elementary. Okay. Now, theoretical astronomy, that you look up and they're trying to predict things, all right, which is fine and all dandy. But when you start saying what happened in Mars can happen here. Mars, a red planet. This video explains why it makes it so different for what could happen if humans live there. So according to what you see right here, this will tell you that Mars had an electromagnetic exosphere that protected it, and then somehow it lost its magnetic, properties, and its atmosphere, dried out, and they died. And then they tell you, now here's what we have to do to save, climate change, and here on Earth. See where I'm going with this? Right now they're using, theoretical astronomy to try to predict things here on Earth. Do you guys comprehend this? All right? Predicting the future of humanity. Astronomy. Future predictions in humanity. Okay. SmithsonianMagazine.com. Mainstream science, supposedly. Okay. Astronomers predict that a comet or asteroid will cause global devastation. Okay. How can astronomy improve life on Earth? Astrophysics. Can astronomers predict the future? Yes. ResearchGate.net. TheGuardian.com. What the future looks like? Climate science. The future of the universe. .edu. Stephen Hawking's warnings, what he predicted for the future. Technology, astronomy in everyday life. And so you can see right here, science.org. This is supposed to be mainstream science. How the world could end and what we can do about it. From another menace from the sky, an impact by large asteroid or comet. As you can see, okay, observational astronomy is being used as astrology is defined. Let's back up to astrology. The study of the movements and relative positions of celestial bodies interpreted as having an influence on human affairs and the natural world. Now, when someone tells me that some large mountain is going to come from the sky and wipe us all out because you worship the sky and you're sitting there staring at lights all day long, I'm going to have no choice but to say you are not practicing astronomy. You are actually practicing astrology. And as I can easily clearly back up even more and show, astrology and astronomy have always been the same fucking thing. Trying to babble your way out of this is not going to help you in anywhere form, by the way. If you try to babble your way out of this, I'm going to go back all the way to the Tower of Babylon and explain how babbling is not helping anyone at all, anywhere, and never has and never will. Okay? This little spelling thing that you guys, that you got, tons of kids in school, under indoctrination that came from the Catholics, casting spells. Out there casting spells. Okay? That's directed. They're directed to cast spells, and you guys don't even know it. All right, this whole astrology and astronomy and it's sky worshiping. All right, point blank, all the way around. If you look up at the sky and you're trying to predict the future, you are a sky worshiper, ancient sky worshiper from Babylon. You have not changed. You have been here probably forever, babbling and babbling on this plane of existence, trying to babble your way out of all kinds of shit, and trying to babble your way to get people to give you money and all kinds of stupid crap because you're looking at the sky. All right, so now history of Phoenicia. All right, hold on, let me take another sip of this coffee. I know a lot of you guys are really pissed off by now. I'm betting a lot of you guys just like go ahead and sign off. You just can't take the truth. The truth hurts because you're part of an ancient religion that hasn't changed. You've just been babbling this whole fucking time. Strength of the religious sentiment among the Phoenicians. Proofs. First stage of the religion. Oh, by the way, this is History of Phoenicia. George Robinson. This is history.com. heritagehistory.com. Okay, there can be no doubt that the Phoenicians were a people in whose minds religion and religious ideas occupied a very prominent place. And by the way, on a positive there, to describe the Phoenicians were more like a corporation, okay? And they got really big by selling purple. And you guys are like, that doesn't make sense. Well, believe it or not, the color purple was a sign of authority. Kings and queens and rulers would pay a lot of money just to get something, made, with the color some type of clothes or something with the color purple, because see, purple is not really a natural, easy color. Everything around us in natural, observable reality is green, yellow, brown. The sky was not known to be blue. The sky was known to be black. And in the daytime, they would say that it was just a lighter black. Just like pink is a lighter red. So a lighter shade of red is pink. A lighter shade of black is blue. That's why people are like, oh, that's black and blue. Because according to the ancients, blue did not really exist. Neither did purple. Okay, those were made by man, and whatever was made by man was used art and skill and was pleasant to the eyes. That was valued back then for some weird reason. And so the Phoenicians were a corporation that they started off by selling purple. And you're like, that doesn't make sense. But yeah, they used seashells or snails or, I forgot the process. You guys could look it up. There was a process of how they, there was something that they knew how to make. So they would like dye clothes, rugs, and all kinds of stuff purple. And then they had boats, and they were international, an international corporation selling that. Along the way, people were like, hey, since you're going that way, can you take this? Can you take that? So they became like UPS or FedEx. They went around delivering cargo, and which was really big back then. So they were literally like the first they were like the first longshoremen, known to our historical timeline that we agree upon right now. So moving forward, yeah. So they were a culture, because, like I said, you could go to the longshoremen and ask them, "Are you guys your own separate culture?" They'll tell you, yes, they are. A lot of corporations become a culture on their own. You look at the Disney Corporation; they are a culture. Okay, they have their own culture, and this goes on and on. Corporations have become their own ideology, because if you define the word corporation, the corporation is a person. It's considered literally, by definition, by legalese and normal definitions, it is considered a person. A corporation is a person. Okay, so Phoenicia was literally a person. It was literally a corporation. It was like culture. So it rolled around, it literally is one of the first bankers, for all we know. Okay, and the Phoenicians, like I said, the Catholic Church has been assimilating. And so the Catholic Church is a byproduct of this culture. All right? This whole assimilation of balling up everything into one religion and thereby taxing it, or should I say global religion, globalization of religion, when you ball up everything into one religion so you could tax everyone under that one religion. All right? It's real simple. So moving forward, I'm going to continue. Religiousness has been said to be one of the leading characteristics of the Semitic race. and it is certainly remarkable that that race originated the three principal religions, two of which are only progressive religions of the modern world: Judaism and Christianity, and Mohammedanism, all arose in Western Asia within a restricted area and from nations whose Semitic origin is unmistakable. The subjects of ethnic affinities and differences of the transmission of qualities and characteristics is exceedingly obscure. But if the theory of heredity be allowed any weight at all, there should be no difficulty in accepting the view that particular races of mankind have special leanings and aptitudes. Wow, that was totally racist. Oh, I didn't expect that. Holy crap. Jesus Christ. Did you guys hear that? Oh, shit. Like, wow, this is coming from heritage history, and they're like, yeah, some races are just better than others. Like, what the fuck? Holy crap. Wow, this is mainstream science, guys. Like, what the fuck? Is that because look, I could easily show, which I'm gonna make another show in the next coming days on evolution, and how evolution, even the true title of evolution, includes and the study of favored races or something like that. God's favored races or something like that. Something about like, a race being favored among other races and shit. It's totally like evolution, if anything, is racist. Because you have different races that are getting, supposedly going to survive while others are supposed to go extinct, and they make these predictions. That's racism. What the fuck? Like, you guys are in school learning this shit. It's no wonder people are so confused. So moving forward, still the religiousness of the Phoenicians does not rest on any priori arguments or considerations of what is likely to have been. Here was a nation among whom in every city the temple was a center of attraction, and where the piety of the citizens adorned every temple with abundant and costly offerings. The monarchs who were at the head of the various states showed the greatest zeal in the continual maintaining the honor of the gods, repaired and beautified the sacred buildings, and occasionally added to their kingly dignity the highly esteemed office of the high priest. The coinage of the country both bore religious emblems and proclaimed the fact that the cities regard themselves as under protection of this or that deity. Both the kings and their subjects bore commonly religious names which designated them as the worshippers or placed them under the tutelage of some god or goddess. Abd Alunim, Abd Dastartes, Abd Osiris, Abdemon, and you can see that Abdemon is demon, which is properly Abd Esmun. Abdimulkut were the names of the former kind. Abi Baal. Baal is my father. Idobal equals with him is Baal. Baleazar or Balazar equals Baal protects. Names of the latter. The Phoenician ships carried images of the gods in the place of the figureheads. Wherever the Phoenicians went, they bore with them their religion and their worship. In each colony, they planted a temple or temples, and everywhere throughout their wide dominion, the same gods were worshipped with the same rites and the same observances. I know a lot of you are like, wait a minute, this all sounds really like South America and Central America, and I could easily tie this and prove that yes, they were in contact with, and matter of fact, you look at historical documents, America was known as the Western Ethiopia or the Western Indies or Western India. That's what it was in the historical documents. When you see that, it's always described the land beyond the sun, the land at the sun, the land to the sun. And then when you look at all the old archaeological records from Central America and South America, there's plenty of Temple of the Sun, and solar cults. And I'm gonna go further into this whole solar cult because you guys already know what I'm doing here. I'm tying in heliocentricity. All right, comes from this. To when you believe that everything revolves, Okay, as opposed to like the sky's revolving around us. No, we are we are revolving around the sun, or the sky. See what I'm saying? The sky is staying still, but we're revolving around it because these guys were sky worshippers. All right. In considering the nature of the Phoenician religion, we must distinguish between its different stages. Oh yeah, I already read all that part. Oh no, I didn't. In considering the nature of the Phoenician religion, we distinguish between its different stages. There is sufficient reason to believe that originally, either when they first occupied their settlements upon the Mediterranean or before they moved from their primitive seats upon the shores of Persian Gulf, the Phoenicians were monotheists. We must not look for information on this subject to the pretentious work on which Philo of Biblis, and the whole word Bible comes from this. All right, guys. All right. We must not look in. We must not look for information on this subject to the pretentious work which Philo of Biblis, in the 1st or 2nd century of our era, put forth with respect to the origines of his countrymen, and attributed Sanchoniathon. We must rather look to the evidence of language and fact, records which may indeed be misread, but which cannot well be forged or falsified. These will show us that in the earliest time the religious sentiment of the Phoenicians acknowledged only a single deity, a single mighty power which was supreme over the whole universe. The names by which they designated him were El, great; Ram or Ramon, which meant high; Baal, which meant Lord; Malek or Molech, which meant king; Elion, supreme; Adonai, my Lord; Belsamin, Lord of heaven, and the like. Distinct deities could no more be intended by such names as these than by those under which God is spoken of in the Hebrew scriptures. Several of them identical with the Phoenician names El or Elohim. And again, Elohim comes from the Old Testament. The Old Testament God is literally not the same God as the New Testament. If you compare them, you'll see that. Okay, they call him Elohim in the Old Testament. They don't say Yahweh or Yahshua or Yahweh. I mean, they don't say Yahweh in the Old Testament. They're calling him Elohim. Okay. Where was that? Jehovah, meaning existing. Yeah, Jehovah means existing. Adonai means my Lord. Shaddai means strong. Elohim, the supreme great one. How far the Phoenicians actually realized all that their names properly imply, whether they went so far as to divest God wholly of a material nature, whether they viewed him as the creator as well as the Lord of the world, are problems which it is impossible, with the means at present at our disposal, to solve. Again, these guys did not, the whole alphabet thing, started right here. So they don't really know too much about the Phoenicians, because of all of this, alphabet deciphering and translation crap. Okay. How far the Phoenicians actually realized all their names properly imply, whether they went so far as to divest God wholly of a material nature, whether they viewed him as the world creator as well as the Lord of the world, are problem. Okay, well, now that Lord of the world in Catholic, you know what that means. The Lord of the world is not God. It's literally the devil. That's what it means. The devil is the one that's in control of the world. It's in the Bible. That's I had to back up to it right there real quick. Okay. But they certainly viewed him as the Lord of the heaven, and if so, no doubt as the Lord of the earth. They believed him to be supreme or most high, as they realized his personal relation to each one of his worshippers, who were privileged severally to address him as Adonai, my Lord. It may be presumed that at this early stage of religion, there is no idolatry, when one God alone is acknowledged and recognized. The feeling is naturally that expressed in the Egyptian hymn of praise. He is not graven in marble, he is not beheld. His abode is unknown. There is no building that can contain him. Unknown is his name in heaven. He doth not manifest in his forms. Vain are all his representations. So, according to this, the original God that that the Christians, the Jews, that Islam, any of the Abrahamic religion, branches of this religion, all say the same thing. That at first he didn't have a name, and that's why they in the Bible says saying his name in vain is a sin. You just can't go around saying his name in vain. But this happy state did not, perhaps we may say could not, in the early condition of human intelligence, last long. Fallen man, left to himself, very soon corrupts his way upon the earth. His hands deal with the wickedness. And in a little while, every imagination of the thoughts of his heart is only evil continually. When he becomes conscious to himself of sin, he ceases to be able to endure the thought of one perfect infinite being, omnipotent, ever present, who reads his heart, who is about his path and about his bed, and spies out all his ways. He instinctively catches at anything whereby he may be relieved from the intolerable burden of such a thought. And here the imperfection of language comes to his aid, as he has found it impossible to express in any one word that is contained in his idea of divine being. So as you can see right here, all of this comes from the Phoenicians. And Baal was the sky, Lord of heaven, okay? In the second stage, the religion of Phoenicia was polytheism. And see, here's the thing that Baal is not really, he's not that Christian God, he's not Yahweh, he's not Jehovah, he's not Elohim, he's not trying to well, yeah, he is Elohim. He's not the other gods though, where he wants to destroy the other gods because he's a jealous God. He's gonna be the only God. Hell no. Baal or Helios, or whatever you may want to refer to him or it as. Some people are like, that's a hurt. Whatever. Maybe it's because there's no gender to gods, according to them. So there's non-binary God. Okay, so this non-binary God, this non-binary sky God, the one when you look up at the sky and the sun, it looks like one big eye is looking down on you. Okay, so Baal is not trying to, he's not trying to destroy other, he's not just trying to rule mankind. He wants to rule the other gods. He wants the other gods to worship him. Like, that's our core. Like, he's not a jealous God at all. He wants there to be more gods. The more gods, the better. Because they're all bowing down to him. They're all saying that they're under his watch. Just as you look at the sky, look at the sun looking down on you. Okay? And they're like, no, that doesn't mean... Yeah, Helios is basically the iris. And the sky is the rest of the eye. And it's looking down on you. You guys are fucking pissed off right now. I know you. When you guys... This is predicting, but I know right now. As you guys... Whoever's watching this. If you didn't know this, even if you're a flat earther, you're pretty pissed off right now. If you're a flurf that got mad about this, yeah. Fuck you too. Alright? I'm setting all of you guys straight. Alright? So, at the head of the pantheon stood a god and a goddess, Baal and Ashtoreth, which happens to be his sister too, by the way. That's his sister. So these two they're supposed to be non-binary, but here they aren't. You know what I mean? This is funny. Okay. Still good and God is Baal and Asher. Baal, the Lord, or Baal Shamin, the Lord of the heaven, was compared by the Greeks to their Zeus and by the Romans to their Jupiter. Mythologically, he was the only one among many gods, but practically he stood alone. He was the chief of the gods, the main object of worship, and the great ruler and protector of the Phoenician people. Hold on, let me take another drink. Oh, this coffee and this victory sip is good. Okay. Where were we at? Was compared by the Greeks to their Zeus and by the Romans to their Jupiter. Mythologically, he was only one among many gods who practically stood alone. Okay. Sometimes, but not always, he had a solar character and was represented with his head encircled by rays. Wait, isn't that the Statue of Liberty? Or is it Apollo? Is it Zeus? No, it's Baal. Baal came first before all these other ones. You can look it up, as we're doing right here. So Baalbek, which was dedicated to him, was properly the city of the sun and was called by the Greeks Heliopolis. Okay? Baalbek was dedicated to Baal, was properly the city of the sun, and was called by the Greeks Heliopolis. Okay? The solar character of Baal is, however, far from predominant, and as early as the time of Josiah, we find the sun worshipped separately from him, no doubt under a different name. Baal is, to a considerable extent, a city god. Tyre especially was dedicated to him, and we hear of the Baal of Tyre and again of the Baal of Tarsus. Essentially, he was the embodiment of the general principle in nature, the god of the creative power, bringer all things to life everywhere. Hence, his statue rode upon bulls, for the bull was the symbol of generative power. Now, and he was also represented with branches of grapes and pomegranates in his right hand, emblems of productivity. Okay, so the whole bull thing, when you right now look up the bankers, okay, the international bankers and the banking system, a bull represents that system. Okay? And I've already told you guys, these guys are the first corporation. These guys have always been in power. All right? These guys are the longshoremen of religion. This is them. This is where, like, you know, oh, the devil had horns. Yeah, Phoenician. All of this comes back to the Phoenicians. In the Bible, they're known as the Canaanites. Okay? The sacred conical stones and pillars dedicated in his temples may have had their origin in the similar symbolism, as polytheistic systems had always a tendency to enlarge themselves. Baal had no sooner become a separate god, distinct from El and Ramon and Moloch and Adonai, and he proceeded to multiply himself. And from Baal became Baalim, either because the local Baals, Baal Sur, Baal Sidon, Baal Tars, Baal Libnan, Baal Hermon, all conceived as these separate deities because of the aspects of Baal. If I'm pronouncing this wrong, I'm sorry, guys. You know, I don't speak Babel very well. Or because the aspects of Baal, Baal as sun god, Baal as lord of heaven, Baal as lord of flies, were so viewed and grew to be distinct objects of worship. In later times, he was identified with the Egyptian Amun, Amen, and worshipped as Baal Amen. Okay? When people say Amen, you're saying Baal. Baal Amen. Amen. Right there. Amun, Amun, Amen. This, like, seriously, this is coming from mainstream science. Baal is known to have temples at Baalbek, at Tyre, at Tarsus, at Agadir, Gades, at Sardinia, at Carthage, and at Ekron. Though not at first worshipped under visible form, he came to have statues dedicated to him, which received the usual honors. And again, this whole idolism came. They were like, you're not supposed to be doing that. There's nothing that could represent this all-knowing. How could you put everything under one statue? That makes no fucking sense. If you're trying to represent everything and all-knowing and knowledge and science and the celestial sphere and nature and there's no statue. You can't put that on a. Oh wait, yes you can. Yes you can. Yes you can. It's called the globe. So hilarious. Though not at first worship, okay. Sometimes, as already observed, his head was encircled with representation of solar rays. Sometimes his form was assimilated to that under which Egyptians of later times worshipped their Ammon, or Amen. I'm just going to say Amen because that's what we say it. Sometimes his form was assimilated to that under which the Egyptians of later times worshipped their Amen. Seated upon a throne and wrapped in a long robe, he presented the appearance of a man in the flower of his age, bearded and of solemn aspect, with the carved horn of a ram either side of his forehead. Figures of rams also supported the arms of his throne on either side, and on the heads of these two supported his hands rested. Now, the Virgen, on a side note right there, the Virgen de Guadalupe in Mexico is literally standing on horns. All right, she's standing on horns. Like I said, these guys assimilated. They ran. They're like a blob. This Catholic Church, which is actually still the Phoenicians, but just an adapted form. It's been like mutating and evolving and just sucking everything up like a blob. And the more it sucks, the more stupider and dumber it gets. It's like a big ball of dumb shit, all just so they could keep taxing you for money. No, I'm not gonna go about the female. Oh, by the way, though, the rays around his head are actually the colors of light. When you separate light from the sun, supposedly 7 colors come out, according to them. So there's supposed to be 7 rays of light, the 7 rays of the color of light. That's what the 7 rays, the crown around his head is. Just as Baal had a solar, so the female deity, I want to make a totally different video on her, so I don't want to bring her up. But just to let you guys know, she was the moon. All right, so you have the sun, which is Baal in the day, and then at night you have the moon. Okay, and that's a whole different deity that I'll go into later on. But as you guys can all see, Baal is the sky. He's the firmament. He's the celestial sphere. He's the Lord of the heavens. He's Zeus. He's Apollo. He's Greek. He's Helios. So when you say that you're spinning, that when you believe that everything revolves around Helios, okay, or when you're worshiping the sky and you're looking at, if you're adoring celestial bodies. And when I say adoring, because you're going to try to tell me that something's going to fall out of the sky and change my future, or that the sky is the cause of my future, and that you could predict my future based on celestial bodies and based on these celestial lights and these heavenly bodies. Okay, if you're going to try to predict my future, then you are part of a religion, a very ancient, stupid religion. You are very, 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 very dumb. Okay, If you're looking at the sky and you're just recording and you're just taking note and you're just marveling at the beauty of the heavens and you're just writing it down and you're not trying to impose that on anyone else, then you're good. That's great. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. It's marvelous. You could go out there and imagine all kinds of shit. But keep your imagination to yourself. Don't tell me that what's happening in the sky is my future. All right? That I'm not gonna worship the sky. I'm not gonna worship Helios. Okay? I'm not spinning around Helios. I'm not. I'm stationary. I'm standing. That light, whatever it may be, because I don't know what it is. Okay? It moves around me. It moves around my family. It moves around. Okay? It revolves around me. It revolves around my family. It revolves around, my community. It revolves around my friends. All right? That light is here for me, as far as I'm concerned. You can't beg me to believe, to believe anything else other than that, because it's not a belief. It's an observable fact. I could see it moving. I'm not spinning. All right? You want to go ahead and believe some cartoon that you've seen in elementary that shows you spinning around, that shows you spinning around the sky? All right? Feel free to believe that. All right? Feel free to believe that. But do you even science, bro?